Right, so in this video I'd like to go over how do you take the chapter quizzes and give you some strategies for hopefully increasing your score on these quizzes, because these are an important part of this class, right? This class is called Computer Concepts. And obviously in your world and mine, computers are big, so there are many concepts in our world to understand around this technology. And this book, this textbook is really awesome in my opinion, and these quizzes are a way to see how well you grasp the ideas in the book. It is my suggestion that you read the chapter first and then use this quiz as a way to see how well you comprehended the information in the chapter. Okay, but here's the deal, you can take it multiple times. And I say up until the due date, but even after the due date. But let me just say, if you don't take the quiz before the due date, I do place a 0 into your grade for this item. You can still complete it late, but you can complete it. Now, I do recommend as well taking this multiple times before the due date, because the more of these questions that you see, the better when you get to the chapter, the final, the better you will do in that case. Okay, so every time you take it though, you do get a new set of questions, and that's the whole idea. And generally there's between 50 and 70 total questions that this will randomly pull 30 from. So if you take it a second time, you may get some of the same questions, but you will most likely get different questions as well. Okay, so honestly, the other thing is the more you take it, generally the better you do. Okay, so that's the other really important thing to understand about these chapter quizzes. Now, I'm going to move to the syllabus just to show you, right? So your chapter quizzes account for 20% of your grade. And really the intention, again, is for you to understand concepts around this, the computers, and also your chapter final. Your chapter final, which is your final for this course, is based on these quizzes. So this really, in a sense, you can think about this textbook accounts for 30% of your grade. Way important. And then if you scroll down, you can see I've broken this down by the number of. So you have 13 quizzes, 20%, so each one is worth 1.54. Right? And then at the end of the semester, you'll have one worth 10%. So that's why this one, right? These chapter quizzes help you do well on that chapter final. All right, so back over here. Scrolling through here, I'm going to go ahead and take the quiz. Right? So if I take the quiz, what you will see when you take this is you'll see 30 questions, and you see them kind of over here, right? Not kind of, but you can move around if you wanted to. And then if I scroll through, I want to show you there are only 3 types of questions. There's multiple choice questions, there's true-false questions, and there are matching questions. Okay? So I'm going to come back to this in a minute, but that is the format. So you get 30 questions. They will be, each one will be one of those 3, true, false, multiple choice, or a matching. Okay, so I've thrown out all the fill in the blanks and essay questions because they're just harder, and not harder, they're just harder to grade, honestly, and I want this to be an immediate feedback for you. Okay, so actually let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and for a second now move over to the My IT Lab and talk about the ebook, because again, I recommend you reading the textbook, but I also want you to know how to search for answers, because if you're not sure, there's a way to search the ebook for where in the chapter these concepts are talked about. So in this case, if you're in My IT Lab, if you look down, you see E-Text for Technology in Action, 14th edition, and when you click there, you get a link here, click here, and then you will get the textbook. Okay, now when you come in, what you will see is really over here. If you look, you see again this hamburger idea. You'll get the table of contents of the entire book, right? So you can go to any individual chapter, because if this is the only way you have the textbook, this would be the way you would come in, look at the headings, and then go ahead and read that book. Okay, this is the way you would do it. And if you have the hard copy, you could do it either way. Depends on however you want to do it. They do give a couple of videos for an overview, which is kind of cool, right? So it gives you an idea of what this chapter is about. All right, so that's just how this thing navigates. And here's the, you can go to a page, but here's the feature I think many of you will use, which is the search feature, right? So in this case, let me move back to the quiz, right? So let's say I was looking for let's go to this one first. Let's say Skype, right? So if I wanted to search, I could search for, and you'll find different techniques for how to search based on what you're looking for, what the question is. There's different techniques for that, right? So you can see that the book talks about Skype quite a bit. Now these are listed in terms, and this is important to understand, in terms of the chapters. So typically it's going to find it in the first occurrence. And if I click in this, and these are all individual results from it looking at the entire book, okay? So and typically, since I'm in chapter 1, I'd probably look at the first one. It doesn't necessarily have to be true, but in general, that's the way you'll see this, right? So let's see, yep, chapter 1, looks like it's going to chapter 1. It talks about Skype right here, so you can read through here. Hopefully, again, this is the second time you've seen it. And then you should be able to answer this question, unless you were already able to answer it, which could have been true. What is Skype? It's voice over IP. Now, I will say the other thing you can do here is use Google, right? It's not, I mean, it's nothing wrong with knowing how to search for these concepts on the general web as well. I don't see any problem with that. The benefit of searching the ebook is you're going to get more precisely, because that's where the chapter questions come from. Okay. All right. So that's just some strategies. Again, you'll refine your skills here as far as the better searching you do, right? Because you could search. I showed you the example of searching what was the question. You could also search the answer, right? So that is the other technique for doing this. All right. So I'm going to come back here because I want to finish with showing you these matching, right? Because this is the one that can throw students off, and I don't want that to happen to you. So in these matching, the way you answer this is important, right? So because it may feel like this is like 4 questions in one, or 5, I guess. But it really, what I like, and the reason I kept the matching is that I think they really help you understand kind of related concepts. So in this case, here's how you do it. You read the first term, so computer forensics, and then you tell it which of these match up with that. So which is the definition, right? So emotion using computers are legal. That sounds right. Understanding capacity and limitations of computer hosting and online video content in printed form. And then sharing. All right, so in this case, the first one, computer forensics, this legal, so it'd be B, and I think you can do a lowercase, but typically I recommend uppercase, and then you have to do comma. Here's the bummer. If you don't follow this format, you could, if you did it like this, if you said like the next one, let's see, the next one is computer literacy. See, I think it was understanding, limited, so I'd say C. So if you did it like that, even though the answers were right, it would mark them as wrong because you didn't put the comma. So it's uppercase, this is my recommendation, uppercase, comma. So the letter that corresponds, right? So you're matching these, space, and then the next one. Okay, that's the way you need to do these. So you'll go all the way through and do all of them, right? So you have to do all 5 in order to get this correct. So let's actually just finish this one up. So in this case, a QR code, I believe, is D, because it's a host of a link, online resources. You've all seen, I'm guessing, QR codes. Effective computing. And in this case, I believe that's the emotional part. So this would be A, comma. And then the last one, collaborative consumption, would be sharing. So this would be E. So that would be the example of how you would do these matching questions. Okay, so please do yourself a favor and get that. Otherwise, you're going to be frustrated when you do all the work and don't get it. Okay. By the way, if you do happen to see a question like this where it's asking you to fill in that. I had intended for all of them to be gone, but I went through them 3 or 4 times. But if you see one, flag me. Give me, email me and tell me the name of it, and you'll have to unfortunately go ahead and answer it, but hopefully the next time you take it, that will be gone, because these are actually essay questions, and my hope was to get rid of all of them. Okay? All right. So in this case, what will happen too is it will save your answers as you go through and answer things, right? And when you're done, you obviously need to submit. And I thought there was a save, but I guess it's just save as you go. So matter of fact, let's just see. This is the way it worked like it did before. I'm going to go back to quizzes. Do you want to navigate? I'm going to say yeah. And let's see, because I may have to change a setting to make sure, because I do give you the ability to save questions or save quizzes. Resume. Very nice. So it does give you the ability to resume the quiz, which is what I had hoped. In prior versions, you actually had to hit save. So what this does is as soon as you click on an answer, and let's just make sure if we go back in there and see some of the questions that I had answered, yeah, that one is saved and that one is saved. All right, so that's your overview on how quizzes work in this class. Have a good day.